Currently, my Centauri Carbon is dead, and because it's dead, I went and bought myself a another printer. I'm being a hypocrite because if some of those people that watch my channel initially would know that I swore off on Bamboo when I initially had an A1. Lo and behold, it was just me being incompetent and ignorant. It was just a jammed nozzle, and it would have been an easy fix, but I was just too stupid at the time. So I am technically being a hypocrite, but I got a P1S now, got it on sale, and when it comes to sound quality, this thing is far more quieter than the Centauri. Now when it comes to longevity, that's something I'm going to find out a little later on. I do know that I have a heat creep issue on this one if I let it print for too long, so I need to print off a riser to help with circulation. I haven't done that just yet because I don't have any PEG filament and whatnot. But I have been able to do some decent printing on this thing and haven't had any issues yet, but I am watching it either way. But as you can tell by the title of the video, I'm going to hopefully be repairing my Centauri Carbon, that way so I can use it alongside my P1S and my two Neptunes to actually do my next life-size print. And as you can see, I got the new main board and a replacement USB-C cable. Unfortunately, this is not the revised USB-C cable that they're producing. So when this cable does eventually die on me in about maybe 2 to 3 weeks, or not 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 months, I'll be able to theoretically get the actual proper replacement cable and again, a new motherboard, because let's be quite honest, when this thing dies, it tends to take the motherboard with it. So I'll be out another motherboard and cable, but luckily since I'm under warranty, this is all free. So hopefully Elegoo will eventually get this stuff situated and we'll hopefully not have to deal with this anymore longer than maybe one more time, but only time will tell. So first things first, I need to get everything set up for the Centauri so I can actually replace everything. Here's the part that sucks. The mainboard cooling fan was going bad. Basically it'll spin up and whatnot, it'll produce air and whatnot, it'll keep the board cool, but the ball bearing was going bad. So I could either message Elegoo asking for a new fan or take something I have around the house and retrofit it to fix the issue. And well, this little squirrel cage fan and a little buck converter that converts it down to a voltage that doesn't blow this fan out is what I did. And it actually does a really good job. Now, some people were saying that the reason why the board on mine died is because of cooling and whatnot. I mean, maybe, possibly. But if that is in fact the case, well, this big old squirrel cage fan, even at the setting I have it at, blows far more air than that little ABP piece of crap fan that this thing originally came with. So now I just gotta remember how I wired this thing up and then pull it out in a way to where I don't damage it and whatnot, because I have a cable here going to something and I can't remember what this cable goes to. So yeah, this is going to be fun to deal with. I'm going to deal with this all off camera, obviously, because this is going to be a pain in the butt. So I'm going to get all this situated off camera, like I said, get everything all put back in place and come back when necessary. Alright, got the new board in. Ignore these cables. That's a little fan for the cooling and the main board and whatnot, like I mentioned. So let's see what it does. Looks like the screen still works. Good. I doubt swapping out the main board would actually cause anything to happen with the screen, but you never know with these things. So it will take a little while for the thing to boot, so I'll come back if something, or when it actually does boot, or something goes wrong. Well, that's always great. It's in Chinese. Though more than likely it's just saying, hey, it's a new board, you gotta go through calibration and whatnot. That's more than likely what it's saying, but I'm gonna pull up the old translate. It still thinks the connection between the main board and the hot end is faulty. That's fucking annoying. Brand new main board, brand new cable, and yet it still does this bullshit? Yep, and it's still doing it. Again, brand new cable, brand new main board, annoying clock, and yet it's still doing this. Well, I still have the original USB-C cable I had before the thing croaked, and I know this cable works. So I'm going to plug this in and we're going to see if it does anything different. Thank God I have a P1S. Even though my Centauri is still dead, I have something I can continue using. Now I do have a few bed slingers, as you see. The reason why I don't want to use these as much is because the quality is just not as good as something like a Core XY. And honestly, the majority of prints I do can actually be done on something this small, Granted, I would like to have something a little more bigger. That's why I got the plus and the max, but I would like to have something a little more bigger that's enclosed. So it's a little annoying that I'll be sending the video off to Elegoo again, because apparently something's more wrong with my Centauri Carbon than just a main board and main cable replacement. Again, I'm thinking a whole freaking replacement of the printer is necessary. There's a few more things I'm going to try before I fully say anything else on that, but I'll come back in a little bit. You're fucking kidding me? The cable they sent me was bad? This is the cable I was using prior to the thing acting up on me. And now I'm able to get past here and whatnot. It's making a proper connection to the hot end and whatnot. So I'm going to give me a sec. That is honestly very embarrassing on Elegoo's end. I'm now having to, oh yeah, I already did all that. This is a fresh new board, so it's setting everything up as it's brand new. So I'm going to let this do its job. And I'll come back in about, what, 40 minutes? Now, you do have to take my word for this, but the USB-C cable on my Plus right here is the cable from the Centauri. It's the original one. I don't know how well I can actually show it off. Well, actually, yes, I can. Because as you can see, there's a little bit of duct tape right there when I was initially having my issues with this cable. So this is the original USB-C cable that came with my Centauri Carbon. And of course, here is the original main board that also came with the Centauri Carbon. And of course, here's a new one. As you can see, it is all nice and clean, nice and pristine, and yet doesn't fucking work. That's really annoying. Thank goodness I still have that anchor cable in this thing, and it still works. And it's passing through its tests right now. Alright, I'm about to more than likely irreparably damage the board they just sent me. But might as well see what will happen anyways. So currently right now I'm using a third-party USB-C cable from Anchor. This cable can handle 240 watts. I've been able to use this cable without any problems up until recently. And of course I'm now using it again, and it's working obviously completely fine with the new main board that Elegoo just sent me. In my previous video, I also showed that this cable can still do full data transfers without any problems whatsoever. So the USB-C cable, yes, it may not be from Elegoo, but it fully works with the printer, as you clearly can see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the printer off. I'm going to disconnect the USB-C cable from the hot end. I'm going to flip the printer over. I'm going to disconnect the cable on the PCB end, and then I'm going to take the cable that Elegoo just sent me, and I'm going to plug it into the main board. Then I'm going to take the other end, and I'm going to plug it into the USB-C port on the hot end. And it's supposed to go like this. If I can get to, I can't really do it one-handed with my left hand. Gotta do it with my right hand since I'm right dominant. And that cable is fully seated, going nowhere. This cable is fully seated, going nowhere. Now let's see what happens. Did I just kill my printer, or is it going to somehow miraculously start working? Okay. It looks like the cable is now working. Can I, let's see, what's the options on this thing? I haven't used this thing in a little bit. I forgot how to use it. All right, it looks like it's now working. All right, so I'm obviously very suspicious of this cable now that it's now working again. So what the heck am I doing wrong? I can't use the original cable they sent me without plugging in this third party cable to kind of reboot the thing in a way, and then once it gets past its calibrations and whatnot, then I can start using the the new cable they sent me. I I'm utterly confused. So far it seems to be working. I will power it off, power it on again. All right, it seems to be working now. All right. So since I know someone at Elegoo is probably going to end up seeing this video because I will be sending this off to them, I'm going to route this cable in a way where I can actually use it. I'm obviously not going to route this cable in that severe turn that that this thing originally had, especially considering the new cable is a more proper cable. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to route this cable more to the way I want it. I'm going to remove this cable because I don't need it right now, but I'm going to store it because, well, let's be quite honest, if this cable was acting up right out of the box, Lord knows I'll probably get maybe a month out of this cable before it dies on me again. So with that said, I'll get everything kind of more or less tidied up and come back. I just realized it's N7 day. So it's a little poetic that I'm also starting the process of printing off my life-size Jack on Mass Effect Day. So with that said, why not put the Centauri to work and see if it can actually handle it? So let's first start off with obviously her face. I'm going to be printing her face on the Centauri, and I'm going to be bringing the back of her face on the P1S. Hopefully I don't have to fully switch over to the P1S for the building of Jack, but I set everything up for her so she can actually be printed either on the Centauri and or the P1S. And that's not just the like the small pieces, that even includes like the hip region and the chest region and whatnot. I tend to want to print those on like my Plus or Max, but I want to try and push both the Centauri and the P1S I just got. So I'm going to use Jack as a test bed for, well, now both printers. So with that said, this one's going to take about 10 hours to do and just a little over a quarter gram of filament. And when it comes to the way I'm printing this one off, I'm printing it off normally in the grand. And when it comes to my prints, I have two settings, normal and strong. That's of course usually for like the legs and whatnot, since those need to be a lot more stronger than like the face and whatnot. So it's going to take a little while to print, but this will be one way to really test my Centauri to make sure it works or not. Though I would not be surprised if it decides to muck up on me when I'm trying to print. So with that said, time to upload to the printer and hope it works. Alright, and now the P1S is, P1S is Centauri as a file, and now it's just doing its prep and whatnot. I'm going to set this thing up in a little bit, but for now I have an anime to watch and I want to babysit this thing for like an hour or two. Alright, looks like the Centauri did its thing just fine, and the P1S also printed off its part just fine. So, at least for the moment, the Centauri is fixed. Though only time will tell if it starts acting up again. But I'm happy I got at least something out of it so far. A few days have passed since I recorded the last bit of the video, and it's so far working completely fine. I'm actually printing off PETG parts for my P1S so I can have a riser for the glass lid. And so far, alongside the few other little prints I've done, this printer has been printing completely fine since I replaced the main board and of course the USB-C cable and whatnot. Not to say I won't start having issues later on down the road. I'm hoping I'm not, and I'm really hoping this thing will actually truly become that workhorse I want it to be. But only time will tell, just like time will only tell about my P1S. Again, my P1S is also doing its job just fine, but of course I'm also printing off this little riser so I can reduce the chances of heat creep, and of course having a clogged nozzle, which is something I really don't want to have to work, really have to deal with and whatnot. But when it comes to, again, the P1S, it is also working completely fine. And of course, the main video again is the Centauri carbon, and as it stands right now, the replacement parts are in fact working, even though I had that weird little issue with the supposed connections that I showed earlier. When it comes to updating the firmware on the printer, though, I have not updated the firmware because the last few firmware updates have been complete total dog shit garbage, and I ain't risking this printer. I just spent like 2 weeks waiting for the parts to come in. No way am I going to update the firmware and just possibly brick this thing again. I want to actually use this thing. I don't want to freaking muck with it. But again, as for right now, it's working completely fine. Not to say that won't happen later. Nothing won't happen later, but all I can hope for is that these parts will be the only parts I ever have to replace, other than, of course, the nozzle and whatnot. But again, for now, it's working as intended, which is really all I want.